Today I'll talk about what is environmentalism and the four main challenges to environmentalism and the environmentalists. So what is environmentalism? Let us begin. So before we begin, if you like my content, do like, share, and follow my YouTube channel. My YouTube handle is called Fearless Wing Chun, and I'm starting the energy humanist movement from Singapore. According to Britannica, environmentalism is a political and ethical movement that seeks to protect the natural environment by changing harmful human activities. So for anyone who consider themselves as an environmentalist or a climate activist to some degree, to some extent, have put the needs of the environment above human needs. And let me give you an overview of the environmental mindset. Have you ever noticed that the environmentalists would reject all kinds of good news, whether is it about humanity, whether is it about the environment? Yet, at the same time, if you share with them a piece of bad news, without filter, uncritically, and I will emphasize uncritically, they will uncritically accept all kinds of bad news about humanity and the environment. And since we're talking about climate change here, the argumentative method of the environmentalists today centers around exaggerating the cost of using fossil fuels. And at the same time, they will trivialize the immense benefits of fossil fuels, and they will totally ignore fossil fuels elevating humanity to the comfort levels we have today over the last 200 years. So, what are the four challenges to environmentalism and environmentalists, and why you and I should not commit ourselves to environmentalism? First of all, I will hold and challenge environmentalists. I will hold them responsible for all of their past predictions. Secondly, and since the environmentalists have chosen their own scientific authority over the matter of climate change, they have chosen IPCC, or the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, and they will always cite the IPCC report to justify their own catastrophic predictions. So I will cite the IPCC back into their faces. Okay, according to IPCC own technical report, they have found that there is low confidence in detecting extreme weather events over multi-decades. Thirdly, I would assert that environmental concerns do not represent the majority of global opinion, even though they are emboldened by global media. Lastly, I would assert that alleviating poverty is 70 times more important than stopping climate change. So, first point, hold and challenge environmentalists and make them responsible for their past, to all of their predictions. It's already too late to avoid mass starvation, says who? Says the first Earth Day organizer, Dennis Hayes. And when did he say it? When did he say it? He said it on 22nd April 1970. He said it's too late. How about this? Civilization will end in 15 or 30 years' time unless immediate action is taken against problem facing mankind, said a Harvard biologist in 1970. Lastly, I'll present to you Paul Ehrlich, who wrote the popular book called The Population Bomb. Okay, in 1969, Paul Ehrlich said that unless it is over here at the bottom left, unless we are extremely lucky, everybody will disappear in a cloud of blue steam in 20 years' time. He says that everybody will disappear in 20 years' time, and he said it in 1969. Paul Ehrlich is still alive today. Paul Ehrlich is still leading the environmentalist movement today. And those are just three examples. Over the last 53 years, we have 53 years worth of catastrophic predictions, and they center around climate catastrophe, they center around resource catastrophe, they center around pollution catastrophe. So the main argument is this: how can environmentalists be responsible? In order for them to be responsible, they have to own up to their past predictions. They pretend to be responsible by saying better to be safe than sorry. We never know what might happen. They always say this, and they always advocate that if you inconvenience yourself a bit more, if you suffer a bit more in your personal life, if you take action to suffer a bit more, you may have a chance to save the world. And by saying that, they think that they are responsible. Actually, they are not. In order to be responsible, they must first own up to their past before churning out new predictions. The arguments boils down the argument boils down to this. Why should I believe in your future predictions when you don't even recognize the past? Have you ever heard of the term Bible thumpers? And since environmentalism is a secular religion, we do not have Bible thumpers. Instead, we have IPCC thumpers. So just to recap, IPCC stands for the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. And every 5 to 6 years, they do an assessment report. So we have assessment report 1 to 6. Today, we are at assessment report 6. The IPCC do not do the data mining themselves. They collect all the papers regarding the environment all over the world, and they do an assessment. So the environmentalists would always quote and always cite IPCC as their scientific authority to assert their catastrophic worldview on you. And most of them, because the report is very thick, it's like thousands of pages, most of them would only read the summary report. And there have been scientists on the panels of the IPCC that have pointed out that the summary report is a misrepresentation of the technical report. So let us look at what the technical report says. For cyclones, they cannot detect any rising trend in cyclones over multi-decades. The same thing with winter storm. They have low confidence. So the statistical term is low confidence in detecting rising trend of such events. The PDF page is all cited here. The original page, they are all cited here. Same thing that goes for thunderstorm, tornadoes, hail, lightning. They cannot detect a rising trend over multi-decades. They also have low confidence in human influence on drought. They also have low confidence in detecting rising flood trends. They have low confidence in detecting human influence in rising flood trends. And they have medium confidence, which is not good enough, in detecting fire weather or more wildfires being more prevalent in Europe, Eurasia, US, Australia over the past century. So in summary, yes, it's true, there are more heat waves. Yes, it's true, we experience heavier rains. We have heavy precipitation. Those are true. Those are high confidence. Okay. Yes, it's true. These two, hotter and wetter. That's true. But other than that, everything else regarding extreme weather events, they are all low to medium confidence. And medium confidence is not good enough. They detect no rising trend in flood, in droughts, in cyclones, in winter storm, in tornadoes, in hail, lightning, extreme winds, and fire weather. Okay, so the IPCC did a good, excellent report over the literature, did a good assessment, And please read the technical report. It's very technical, but you have to read it, and it's very different from the summary for policymakers report. And the third point, environmental concerns do not represent the majority of global opinion. Okay? Even though they are emboldened by the global media, that is to say, the global media also do not represent global opinions. So according to UN Global Survey, so they have surveyed 7 million people, and these 7 million people have to choose their top concerns. Okay, they have three choices. There's six choices actually. So out of 16, they have to choose six of their most choices. So out of this 7 million voters, 16 choose 6. Climate change rank last, rank 16th, even though they they can be 1 out of 6. Okay, so what concerns rank the highest? They want a good education, they want better healthcare, they want job opportunities. All these concerns are much higher priorities according to the UN Global Survey. And lastly, I will assert that alleviating poverty is 70 times more important than stopping climate change. Moreover, during the past 100 years, we've seen a spectacular 99.4 reduction of climate-related death. And what do we mean by climate-related death? Climate-related death are people dying from floods, droughts, storm, fire weather, and extreme heat and extreme cold. From 1920s to 2022, we have seen a 99.4% drop in climate-related deaths. People are not dying from the climate. And according to the WHO, and this is being published in 2011, it's being published on the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons. So they did a study about global health risk. Okay, and we have 26 to 28 of them. So look at the right bars over here. It measures deaths from global health risks. So we find that people dying from climate change rank last second. Okay, people are more likely to die from high blood pressure, more likely to die from overweight, obesity, high cholesterol, unsafe sex, alcohol use, and underweight. So environmentalists would come back and say that, oh, perhaps people are not dying from climate change, but people are suffering from climate change. So I will point you to the left bars over here. This is what they call disability adjusted life years. So if you have an ailment, if you have an illness that plagues you for a number of years of life, they have a way of measuring it. The same thing, people suffering from climate change rank last. So it's more likely that people suffer from, highly likely, the top priorities are people suffering from underweight, unsafe sex, unsafe water, sanitation, hygiene, high blood pressure, suboptimal breastfeeding, high blood glucose, and so on. So those are all top concerns when it comes to suffering, according to WHO, according to the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons. So if we add up all the poverty-related deaths, like underweight, zinc deficiency, vitamin A deficiency, unsafe sex, unclean water, sanitation, hygiene, unmet contraceptive needs, indoor smoke pollution, suboptimal breastfeeding, and iron deficiency, if we add them all up, people suffering from these health risks, if we add them all up, people dying from all these health risks, they are 70 to 80 times larger than people suffering from climate change. Certainly, climate change is not a top priority in the world that we live in today. And let's come back here. 99.4% reduction of climate-related death. Come back to this. The last argument I will present is environmentalists uncritically accept all kinds of bad news. Uncritically, they just accept it. When it's bad news, it attached to them like a magnet, and they believe it without thinking. Okay? And they reject any form of good news about humanity. The main argument boils down to this. I want to say to environmentalists, why should I believe that you want better, any form of better, when you can't even accept good?
Subscribe to this channel and help me gain momentum, because I want to debate environmentalist group like SG Climate Rally, Green Nudge, Singapore Youth for Climate Action, Climate Conversations, Students for Fossil-Free Future, Fossil-Free NUS, World Wildlife Fund Singapore, Centre for Responsible Future, Nature Society Singapore, and Mother Earth Toastmasters. Just bring it. YouTube, I need you to help me to ask them to bring it. Most importantly, join this new movement to fight for humanity against the environmentalists. Show the environmentalists that we are too big and too smart to be bullied.